look at that for a nice opening. How is that? And look, I've just got I should turn my phone down because I've just now reverb back into here. Zoe Anna Bell, namaste. Is that what we do?
Namaste. Good morning, top of the morning to you.
What does actually namaste mean? Does it mean anything of significance?
Yeah, so it basically means the light within me.
Oh.
Or the spirit within me honors the light within you.
Oh, so that's what I'm saying. So rather than me saying the light within me is the spirit and the light within you.
The light is almost like the spirit. So it's the essence it's the light within me that is honoring the light within you. So it's an honoring and a recognition of self.
Well, I like that. Now, before we get started, how are you feeling? Are you all relaxed? Are you all settled? Are you? We're laughing a little bit here because, for those who don't know, we did a bit of a sound check about an hour ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I've just decided I have a new lease in life. I'm now going to become a webmaster. I think I'm going to become a webmaster. I want to build websites for no reason. Well, we don't have to tell anyone about that.
You're a technical analyst.
I am. Now I'm noticing under your name there, you've got your name, which is Zoe Anna Bell, and I've also got the Mind Body Specialist for busy entrepreneurs and CEOs, and there's your website there, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But before we go into the courses and what it is that you offer and what happens about who you are, I want to know more about who Zoe Anna is and why did you get started in this wonderful journey in this crazy business of yours?
So great question. So the reason I got into my business of that path of entrepreneurial path was I was working in a system as an RN. And the system was not giving me the answers that I needed within my own personal journey, and what I saw was in the system. So working as a registered nurse, I recognized that it was focused on the effect and not addressing the cause. I had a lot of pain in my body. I also had mental health, depression, anxiety. I'd had PTSD. And also physical pain in my body, and the system wasn't giving me any solutions. So it took me on that path of self-exploration, of studying what I needed to study, following more of the Eastern way practices to then source the information.
Wow.
And that was until I got kicked out of the system.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. So when you say you got kicked out of the system, you got kicked out because you didn't believe that handing medication out and popping pills and giving people, rather than maybe the alternative medicines that we have, plant-based stuff, maybe healing within, you just went, you know what, I think we could do without all these paid-for medical treatments. We should maybe start with a base of getting people to heal within themselves. So you got kicked out for saying that?
Yeah, there were a few things. You know, it was like when you're you don't really fit into the system, so you're a little bit of an anarchy within the system. How can I put it? I was seen more as I was very much about empowering patients, of giving patients the tools of them starting to take responsibility, starting to take ownership of what got them to that point in time, giving them information. And it doesn't really go down too well when you're giving people different options, or when they're on a lot of medication and you're getting them to ask deeper questions of why they're having lots of different medication. So when you start doing that, you start ruffling a few feathers, and then it gets to the point where they will find everything and anything to throw at you. And then, as life always happens, then you will have these divine experiences that come up that then accelerates the process of when you make that decision of you no longer fit into a system, then I do believe that things will happen to take you away from the system.
It's interesting you say that. I mean, yeah, totally. I want to delve a little bit deeper into this, and you can answer as many of these questions as I have for you, or you can say, look, Gerald, that's actually off limits, and I don't mind that at all. But, having a chat to you earlier on, I don't think there's a lot of things that's off limits here. But you did mention about your own pain and your experience with trauma. You don't need to go into the trauma that you had, but what was the pain that you were experiencing that you just thought, you know what, the medical system isn't helping me here. I need to source some of the Eastern philosophy that I think may be able to help you. So what was in a nutshell the pain that you were going through that made you want to make this change?
Well, talking on the physical level, so I had physical pain in my body, which I was working at the time as an orthopedic nurse. I had physical pain in my body in my left knee. So I, at 30, got diagnosed with arthritis, which for a 30-year-old is a 70-year-old's disease, and 70 is still very young, by the way. So it was, debilitating. And, when I was standing on my legs for too long, my knee would swell, I would get pain in it. And this was very limiting. It became, there were certain things in regards to intimacy, which I've got up on my page, that, I found difficult and challenging, which is not something in your 30s that you really want to have those limitations. So I had daily physical pain in my body, in my knee. And what I was being given was, we can fuse your leg. We can give you a knee replacement. For me, that wasn't an option at 30, so that took me on that path of finding different ways to train, which then took me to the US much later to study movement and to study ageless mobility and find ways to rewire and still be able to train at a high intensity, but non-impact.
So if I go back a couple of steps before that, were you like a volleyball player, a netball player? What had caused the injury to your knee, or was it kind of maybe hereditary? Was it something that your parents or your grandparents had? What caused the knee pain?
I basically had a skiing accident I think I was 12 or 13. So I'd skied from when I was 3. I was very much, if everyone was following one path, I would hold back and then I would go a faster path. And I basically got bored and found a way to go up in the air and flew over the top of everyone. And so I was very active. I have a background of gymnastics, so did a lot of sport. And,
so I guess the message is for kids who were watching this. Not any kids will be watching this. Don't go skiing. Like seriously, don't do any sport. Don't run. No. Like you were taking it to the extreme.
I was taking it to the extreme, and I worked a lot with horses, and I had, I had a lot of trauma with horses and accidents, and it's not about avoiding those things. I really believe it was part of my path, and it was not. I'm grateful for it because if I hadn't had those things happen, it wouldn't have taken me down that path of now doing what I love. And so I do believe that all these things that happen to us are there maybe pre-designed before we have the accident or the trauma to then take us down that path to unlock our gifts of what we're here to share.
And so Anna, no, I'm glad you don't. No, and we shouldn't change our past. I mean, just because that had happened. I mean, it is what it is, I think the saying goes. And Zoe Anna, I'm guessing, what is it that Eastern philosophy teaches more than the Western philosophy teaches? Because here in the Western world, we kind of like, get up, brush yourself off and get on with it. In the Eastern world, I'm thinking that's more spirituality, there's more mindfulness, there's more awareness. And so what's the difference that you've found between what's happening in the Asian sector or the Eastern countries or Eastern culture as opposed to Western culture?
With the Eastern, takes us more into the awareness and the energetics of the the layers that we go through. Everyone will have heard of the onion effect and I think people can relate to that, where we go through the layers, and we have the layers of the body and we have the layers of the mind, and it's that taking more of that awareness, that self-realization, self-actualization, going inwards, rather than the Western is more about, I see it as, and it has a place as well. I don't think it's this or that. We do need a combination. It's about them working together. The Western is more about addressing the effect. So the immediate, if it's pain is the effect, well, let's give something to numb it. Where I was more interested in, well, let's look at the pain. Where is the pain coming from on a metaphysical level? Is it something related to our emotions? Or because our spirit, which is this essence that fills this vessel that we're in, is it, and you see this a lot in trauma and I saw it a lot in myself from having a lot of trauma, from physical to sexual to emotional to lots of trauma. My eyes looked dead, my spirit looked dead, my spirit looked like it didn't want to be in my body. So there was this disconnection, disassociation. So the Eastern more looks at our life force that flows through our body, our spirit that is flowing through our body, and so it's more on an energetic level.
There's a lot to unpack there, Zoe Anna. There's a lot to unpack.
And there's so many layers to that.
Yes.
That's on a really simple...
I think I'm still on the first onion layer, peel back, but some people have, of course, peeled back that onion layer to get to the core. I'm not even right at the beginning, so I wouldn't know where to start.
Well, you start at the physical. We need to start at the physical. And, you can talk about having a spiritual experience, even going into emotions. You will know people aren't going to understand, what do you mean by emotions? How do I tune into that? Unless you start at the physical level. The physical is the bottom half of the body. So if you separate the body into 3 sections, from the waist or hip down is the physical, and then we have the emotional coming up into the upper heart, and then we've got the spiritual. So we need to start with the physical layer. That's why pain is not the enemy. Pain is actually a messenger showing us something needs to shift and change. What we have in Western medicine is very much, and yes, in trauma, immediate, if your arm is hanging off, you want to be knocked out and you want some high dose analgesics and opiates to take rid of the pain. But that's more about the numbing and the disconnection and the disassociation, where pain to me is, I take people into the pain to explore the pain, because the pain, beyond the pain, is a level of pleasure, of getting into the pleasure body.
Whoa, slow down. That just made no sense to me. Okay, because I want to rewind that part. Okay. So exploring the pain, which is actually a pleasure sensor. Talk me through that.
If you think of, even if so for example, you're sitting there. Say for example, you're sitting and you put the body in an uncomfortable position, not to the point that it's painful, but you go to, so like if you're being stretched, or you have an experience of being stretched, what most people will do, they'll feel a different sensation and they will associate and go, oh, that's painful, where what they're feeling is a level of discomfort. We need to go into the level of discomfort by using awareness, being guided into it, by using the breath, by being guided how to stay in a level of discomfort to be able to shift the experience. And it's almost like hitting a doorway. We're hitting a doorway, but we're not forcing it. You can't force the body. We need to create a different relationship with the body and even the language that we're using, rather than saying pain, saying discomfort. And then staying with that discomfort. And what starts to happen is the discomfort lessens and we go beyond it. So it's say like if you're sitting there, or say like your nose is itching, the immediate response is someone to scratch their nose.
Yes.
If you can sit with it and be aware that your nose is itching and be aware of the sensation and observe it without the need to fix it or change it or eliminate it, and be able to discipline yourself to observe it, or maybe shift your focus somewhere else, the itch will go.
That's really interesting. Can I give you an example of how that may happen? Because as you're talking to me about itching now, I just want to scratch everywhere. Like it's one of those empathy receptors. You mentioned the word itching and then you start scratching, and I think I've got nits now in my head. I don't know. but I think I've got a great example of what you were just talking about. I ride a motorbike, and sometimes when I'm riding, I've got this sensation in my ear that I need to scratch, but I can't get through the helmet. So, and I can't open the helmet up and then put my hand through with my thick gloves on. And so I think I know where you're coming from, is that it's like, okay, I can't scratch it. I'm traveling at, 100 Ks an hour, and I need to refocus the energy of the itch into something else. And I do. I look at the scenery, or I look at maybe how fast I'm going, and I say, oh, I need to slow down. And then it goes. And then, so I do get that, but how do I transfer that into the point of, okay, I feel pain, but I don't want to feel it, but I want it to make it feel better? Is that, I need another example. Is that like when I am stretching and I stretch beyond the point, and then, my trainer might say to me, we're going to see if we can get a little bit further. And then I go, that really hurts, but it actually feels good. Like it's a pain that I know once I come away from it, it feels good. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's going into the discomfort, and even the word, shifting the word pain into discomfort. Then the body has, like with the itch, when I said the word itch, you start itching. If I say the word pain, the psyche of the individual will suddenly think pain, so then their body tightens up. Where if you change the language into discomfort, or say like for a woman going into childbirth, rather than contraction, which is shortening, you change the patterning of the language to, oh, it's a wave. Very different. It's a wave. There's a rise and a fall, which is very different to contraction, which is like shortening. Now, when you tighten up and you contract, the experience of the pain receptors get even louder. So we want to put the body into a state of relaxation. So the nervous system, we've got the sympathetic nervous system, which is the adrenaline and the go-go. And then we've got the parasympathetic nervous system, which is then the rebalancing, the calming, the relaxing. So we want to, like, your trainer's not going to push you into something you're not ready for. They're going to wait until you're ready, so you can ease into the stretch with your breath and in a state of being this relaxation. Because the more we can relax, then the more the body will open, and the more we can go into those areas. And a lot of it is the individual, the nervous system of the individual, feeling it's okay, it's safe to let go. Because most people walking around, they'll be like, I'm not tense. And I experience this when I touch bodies, and I'm guiding and stretching bodies. The individual's like, I'm not tight, I'm not tense, and their leg or their arm has been held like this. And you could drop their arm and it's still like this, but the language from what they think to what's happening in the body, there's a break in the communication, because they haven't got that awareness yet. And then they start to have an awareness that, oh, I am holding a lot of tension. I'm walking around like this, and this feels normal.
I think I like that example, because that's exactly what it is. Yeah, I'm not tense, and I put my arm out, and you might be holding it, and as soon as you let it go, my arm's still there. So obviously I am tense. Are you finding, look, and I know you've got there, the mind body specialist for busy entrepreneurs and CEOs, but this is for everyone. This isn't just for entrepreneurs and CEOs. It's for everybody. Everyone that has a body. This is good for. So can I make it personal? Okay, so I have a wonderful father. He's 91 years of age, and he can still lift his arm with the whiskey glass to the mouth. I think he's very good at that action there. He doesn't feel any pain at all, but his knees, he's had a double knee replacement. Do you think that might have been the first mistake that he had, was having a double knee replacement? And he had that about 6 years ago. Do you think that there could have been, Rudy, you can punch through this discomfort and you can make this feel better? Or what would you have suggested if I was talking to you 6 years ago? What would have been a better suggestion than whacking him into hospital, and within a 12-month period he's got 2 knee replacements?
And he's what? Is he 91 now?
90. Well, he's 92 in a couple of months.
Wow. So what was his quality of life before?
Brilliant. It's just because he was, in his younger years he was a runner, so I think all that impacting was doing that, but he was also a mechanic, so that meant he was always bending and standing, bending and standing. So that over time, I guess after a while, there's going to be some damage done there. And I think it just gave way when he was in his mid-80s. And then, of course, he had the knee replacement. But his quality of life was that it was impacted because he couldn't walk. And he didn't want a walker. And in saying that, I mean, if we fast forward to now, he's 91, nearly 92, he still can't walk. Like, it's still giving him pain. He finds it very difficult to stand. So I think his quality of life is worse now than what it was when he was 86.
Yeah, because the surgery, if he had any level of arthritis, will accelerate the arthritis. So what I would have done with him would working with him with mobilizing. When we mobilize a joint, so for example, I would work with his ankles, the joint above and below, his ankles and his hips. Because the knee, we're not going to go straight into the pain of the knee. We want to work around it. So it's not about going into the pain. It's about working with the movement of the ankle, because the body has this really clever way of borrowing and stealing movement. So whatever limitation is happening in one area, the areas above and below will tighten up or become they'll usually tighten up to assist with stabilizing the knee.
That makes sense.
I'd say with ankles, I would do a lot of, and especially with anyone that's had any immobility or they've been in bed a long time, they lose this movement, the flexion and extension, dorsiflexion and plantar flexion of their ankle, and that's why people shuffle. So it's really interesting when you're working with people that shuffle or are using some sort of walking frame, you change the mobility, you start restoring mobility in their joints, and then it gets rid of the pain. It's almost like the Tin Man. You're oiling the joints, you're lubricating it, which means oxygen can flow more freely, then they get a better quality of life. And then I would work towards the knees. And when I work with the knees, I actually take the knees into an area where the joint is being compressed, because we want to have this, if you think of a hose pipe, if you kink a hose pipe, with the hose pipe unkinked, it's got this flow of energy through it. And then we get areas of debris and, calcification. And what people tend to do is when they have lack of movement in a joint or they get arthritis in a joint, they tend to not move it. My philosophy is, no, we actually want to get into it. We want to juice the joint, so we want to compress it. We want to take it into a point where it is compressed, which is uncomfortable, but we modify ways over time. The joint is compressed because when you release that compression, you get this beautiful flush of synovial fluid that goes through the joint capsule and then helps with the health of the joint. So you're restoring, and that's how I rewired my knee, and I still do it. It's still work in progress. If my knee swells up, if I get pain in my knee, I put my body into an area where I'm compressing the joint, or I stretch muscles above and below it, and it's gone like that. Then my quality of life is back. And so I believe no matter what someone's age is, no matter what their limitation is currently, we can restore the health of the joint.
So talk to me about what you see now happening. I mean, it's like zombie world out there when you walk the streets and you see a lot of people with their heads down, and you just think, wow, there's going to be a lot of problems. There's going to be a lot of issues going on with the neck joints. And do you sometimes walk the street, like I guess an analogy would be a dentist always notices people's teeth. Hairdressers always looks at people's hair. People who are in the fitness industry look at body shapes and types. Not that they want to, but that's their business. Do you kind of like in your business, you look at, wow, you know, stand up straight, pull your shoulders back, stop with your looking at your phone. Do you think there's going to be some massive issues in 10, 15 years with younger kids using their phones and pads by always looking down? What do you see?
Well, there already is. It's already there. You know,
didn't take long then, did it? It didn't take long.
Well, it's not only the younger kids. You know, I'm talking about my own, you know, here as well. It's the adults as well, because adults are doing it all the time. You only have to look around, but even that stand up straight, pull your shoulders back. That's a little bit of BS as well, because then you see like people are peacocking like this. They've still got that tension, and you see that a lot with men with their puffed out chests, and you think that, you know, and there's so much tension in there's so much tension in their body. So, you know, looking at what people are doing on the buses, and the mobility is so important, which is the restore aspect of getting people to mobilize. And my intention is that people can do it any time that they want, whenever they need it. So when they get pain or they get discomfort coming up, then they can, you know, do some of the exercises throughout their day.
Because I want to show you something, because I had a bit of a deep dive into your website there, and I want to show you this here, and talk to me through this. This is the Restore Reset 21-day course. It's the step-by-step home and office guide to active flexibility and pain-free living in the next 21 days without years of frustration. And then you've got a whole thing about there, access more energy and feel good, improve flexibility and freedom to move, increase performance, key secrets of ageless living and being. I want that. I want the key secrets. So that Restore program or course that you have there, you obviously don't have to go through the full 21 days, but I would like it in 2 minutes, what it will do for me if I take on the 21-day challenge.
So it's a 21-day challenge. Doesn't need to be done in 21 days. I do want to say that right. It's built that people can go through it in their own time, because it builds upon the next. So it goes through the joints, starting from the neck down, heart out, through mobility exercises to teach the individual how to move through all ranges of movement. Most people are used to moving just up and down, forward and back, and they're not moving through all these different patterns of movement.
Actually, you can keep talking, because I think this is what you're talking about here, isn't it?
Yeah, this is speeded up.
I'll just
this
turn
is
that.
Obviously speeded up.
It's
not
sped up.
Yeah, as fast as that. Sped up.
Yeah.
So it takes them through. So it builds up as they go through it. We'll go through each joint, so they can learn how to move that joint. And then also as well, some stretches and some strengthening, because we need the stretches as well, which is the reset. The stretches are there to strengthen motor control, which we need motor control. So as well as helping people improve their flexibility, we don't want to be so flexible that we have no control. You know, you see that a lot with a lot of Asians. You know, they in the yoga room, we would see it. They'd be very, very flexible, but there would be no tone in their muscle.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we want to have, they've got like spaghetti arms, or there's just no tone. So you think that hose, it's like a floppy hose. We want that hose to be able to be strong and relaxed, so then the energy, the spirit can flow through the body, and we can work with that to get rid of pain. So yes, you can increase your flexibility. You'll be able to eliminate pain. You will have more energy. You will feel more clearer in your mind. So those that get an afternoon slump of tiredness in the afternoon, you will drink less coffee, because the mobility sequence that you saw on the video there, when people get used to doing that, it's like having another cup of coffee.
Yeah. So even
you
that
may
sort
not
of,
even need coffee.
because I love that sort of stuff where you're just like flexing it out, and you know I know this is sped
You're
up,
moving,
but you're moving. Yeah, that's so good.
So the body likes to move in patterns. The body likes to move in patterns. So we start very simple, and then we're going into more complex movements. And the ageless mobility, it's, you know, moving through flexion, extension, side, and then we start moving into circles. We are if people are dehydrated, 65% water, that up to 65 to 80% water. So we're working with that fluid. We want to move in that fluid way so we can move things around. Now, our emotional body, our emotions are all within that fluid. So what happens by doing the movements, working with the physical, you start releasing the emotions into the body. Then the emotions can be processed. Then people start to have an experience of feeling really alive. They feel this tingling in their fingertips. They start tapping into that fountain of youth, which people want, which is that where you shine from the inside out and you look bright from the inside out.
Because I know there are some drugs out there that if you were to take some of the drugs or psychedelics or, you know, mushrooms, or you have any range of whatever drug it is, it can give you clarity of mind. You can be really clear. You can be pinpoint focused on some tasks that you might want to do. Could you replace some of the drugs that we have that gives us more clarity of mind with exercise? Because I'm thinking of stressed out managers, employees, CEOs, entrepreneurs. There seems to be a lot of tension in their mind, which is, I need to focus on this, I need to get this report out. And you see the frowning that happens in their face, and you just go, wow, you don't need that much stress, man, to be able to complete a task. But would this kind of what we were looking at with the exercises that you do, could this be a good replacement for healthier mind?
So when you mention the psychedelics and things and the mushrooms, and I'm going to use it because I think they have a place of actually really assisting people to connect with nature and connect to their true essence. Yes, it can replace things like Valium, antidepressants. I think the meditation, the mantra meditation is very powerful for that. I do think the Restore Reset is a great foundation place for people to begin, because people need to get into their body first. They may find it hard to switch off their mind with meditation before, without some form of movement. So how can I put it? The individual has to want to make changes. The individual has to want to take responsibility for themselves and not relying on something external like a pharmaceutical to being the solution to whatever is going on in their life. Yes, we can increase clarity when we move the body, when we because we start feeling more energized. So yes, you're going to have more clarity in your mind when you're releasing and you're opening your neck.
Yeah.
And they can be worked. I use them in combination: the movement, meditation, and then executing what I'm wanting to focus on. They're the foundations: the movement, the breath, and the mind, the meditation.
Breathing exercises are so important. I know the diaphragmatic breathing that we do sometimes when I'm doing, helping people out in public speaking. I think even before we came on, I said, okay, let's take a deep breath. But some people like to just fill lungs up rather than fill or breathe from the diaphragm, don't they? They kind of go, the chest comes out and they're doing the wrong breath, which is just sucking in. Is there a particular methodology, formula for correct breathing? Because I think I know what I'm doing when I'm breathing correctly diaphragmatically, but is there a better formula or a better breath technique to give me more understanding of how I'm breathing?
Yes, there are many different forms of breathing. I would start with flipping, rather than focusing on breathing in, to breathing out.
Okay.
The reason I say this is we want to empty the lungs. Most people, you say breathing in and they're like,
yeah.
And we actually need to think about exhaling out. It could be like even the like sighing.
Yeah.
Or this will relax the diaphragm. So what happens is we have a vacuum in the lungs. We want to create a vacuum effect where the person, because most people are like, so just like trying to take in, and it's that letting go, it's the releasing, it's the trusting, it's the exhale. When you exhale, you tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxation. So if you can imagine, if now, or the listeners tuning in, you empty out, you breathe out as much as you can, either through, maybe possibly do it through your mouth first. And you can't breathe out anymore, inhale through the nose.
Right, gotcha. So okay, so breathe out through the mouth is what you're saying.
Inhale through the nose and maybe breathe out through the mouth again, because that feels more comfortable. Then over time, you would then start breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose. That's where we want to get to. As children, we were more nose breathers, and then we learned through these patterns. And most people walking around are mouth breathers, so they're like,
yeah.
And then they sleep at night and they're because they're overweight, and when they're overweight, they have a fat tongue, so their tongue is blocking their airway, and then they're waking up tired. So you've got this. The breath is really powerful because we can change the acid alkaline balance in the blood by changing the breath, by learning how to breathe with awareness.
So what do you do though if a person, like I'm actually a really good sleeper, like I'll hit the pillow and within a few moments I'm out, and then I don't wake up during the night. So I'm a really good sleeper. I think I've trained myself to sleep like that. I know when I was younger and I was going through some stressful times, especially when I was studying, I was waking up, I was all stressed about, can I get this assignment in? Can I get this happening? So there was a lot of stress there, but now there's more relaxation. But what do you say to a person who may be still a bit of a mouth breather, and they are, I don't know, they may be using a CPAP machine because they've got sleep apnea, and their doctor has told them, okay, so it looks like to me that you're not really sleeping through the night, or when you are, you're losing breath and consciousness. We need to put you on a CPAP machine to keep you alive. Is there something that you would say, okay, firstly, we need to wean you off the machine, and this is what you can do to start focusing on your breathing? What can somebody do there?
Or I would work with them one-on-one. I wouldn't tell them to start taking themselves off the machine straight away.
Yep.
I would look at what their consistent emotions are, because your emotions, you've got all that fluid in your body. What are their consistent emotions? Are they worry? Are they fear? Are they doubt? Because all of those are going to be creating an acid environment in there. So they're already going to have an acidic environment within their body. Then I would give them some practices where they can start learning to retrain themselves how to breathe with awareness, and booking that time in for themselves each and every day. I would also look at what are they doing exercise-wise. What are they eating? What are their emotions when they're eating? And I'd say a lot of people, when they're very overweight, their bodies are in starvation.
Okay.
They're in starvation, so they're constantly in a place of lack. I'm not going to have, I don't have that, I can't have that. So their psychology is about not having. So then their whole body's in this survival pattern of this trauma response of wanting to hold on. So I would, firstly take them through that and give them, because then that gives them a sense of empowerment of, there's nothing worse when you've got all these different things going on for the individual to then start seeing that they can change their breathing. They can learn how to feel calmer. I would do the meditation with them as well, because I know that's going to strengthen their vagal tone. So
strengthen their what tone?
Strengthen their vagal tone, which is getting into their parasympathetic nervous system. I'm not going to go too much into it, but getting them to really start being able to feel a little bit more in control of their life, more grounded in who they are, rather than constantly in this fight or flight reaction. Because most people that are on CPAP, I'd say they're walking around in a state of fear.
Okay.
Their brain is rewired in that way.
I'd like you to help me out with something here. So I was doing a workshop 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I did have I had one of the guys come up to me and he says, Gerald, I'm so looking forward to doing this de-escalation workshop with you, but I'm always angry. Mate, I get triggered so easily. I look at something on the news and I get angry at the news. I see something that's happening with maybe I'll be looking at a post or a comment, and I get filled with anger. And he works in a public area where he's always in front of customers. And he says he's got to the stage now, he's in his mid-50s, he gets to the stage now where he just hates customers. He said, I hate people. So I don't like people anymore. I said, well, that's probably in the customer service area, the title says service your customers. And he goes, yeah, I hate my customers. And then he said, what do I do? And I'm thinking in my head, wow, you got further issues than just trying to have to de-escalate a customer. It's about you having to be, is he not aware of his anger? I mean, he did come and tell me, but what's going on with him?
Well, firstly, I think it's healthy to release the anger. And I do feel in society we have this anger's wrong, don't have anger. And there's so much locked up in the psychology of the individual, usually from when they were younger, of it's bad to feel anger. I don't want to feel anger, especially men. I don't want to raise my voice because then I'm told that I'm angry or labeled toxic. Or masculine, something like that. So I would get him to guide him how to release the anger. Like, when was the last time he actually screamed or roared and actually released it? That's something I've done a lot with men. And there's, because they're releasing the stuck energy.
So you do that out in public, like at a park or something, and you roar?
I've done it out in public in the park. I mean, usually it's not what people will do initially, because it's most people, if you say to them to open up their throat and to really scream and roar, they can't. No. They can't. They're so suppressed. They're like, I'm watching a really big, I
don't think I would. I'd be going,
I've done it in the park for an experiment, because I'm like, okay, because I've been filming it and thinking, well, I wonder how many people are going to come running.
Yes.
Because they're going to think something's happening. So it's something I do in a one-on-one.
Yeah.
And I've used it a lot with men, mostly men, and for them to be seen, heard, witnessed, and to be that invitation where they can open up and they can show that anger and get it out. That's the first step. And then there's emotions that come from underneath that. We've got to release the emotion. When it's not about suppressing, we need to release it in healthy ways. So it could be screaming into a pillow, it could be punching, whatever it is, for them to release it. And then also looking in themselves, being the observer of themselves, of de-escalating themselves, it's that, so that the person that you were talking about, it's placing blame on the world outside, the external, of that being the problem, but it's actually the interpretation on the inside. It's the not coming into level of acceptance. So there's certain practices that I have within the Future Human, and not going too much into it. And it's their practices to support the individual to coming into deeper level of acceptance.
Have you ever been in a situation where do you call them students, participants? What do you call them? Clients?
Well, students of self. We're all students of self. I like the students. They're not they're more students of self, because then that keeps that curiosity open.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten to a situation with your students that you've gone through the breathing, you've gone through the awareness, you've gone through them looking at, the three parts? Let me see if I get this right. You've got the physical, you've got the emotional, and then you've got the spiritual.
We talked about restore reset, because the awareness bit isn't it.
Yes.
So, okay, in the restore reset, just to clarify, the awareness practices I was talking about are not in there. The awareness is you're in your body, you have discomfort in your body, and you're guided into the discomfort of the body. We have to start there, because that's what's real. It's tangible. That's what's happening in your body, which then makes it more present.
And as a result of some people, do they walk away sometimes like crying? Have you got them to the stage where they actually release so much emotion that they cry? Has that happened? It does. Yeah.
Yes.
What's that about?
It's they're releasing emotions, they're feeling seen, they feel witnessed, they feel held, they feel safe. Their nervous system more so feels safe. I often, when I touch someone or I put my hands on them, there's communication that happens beyond words, and they feel safe. They may not understand it. Underneath the physical, by going into the discomfort is the surface level. Yeah. Like I have discomfort on the top of my skin. It's like knocking the scab off a sore. That's the scab, and the scab will keep healing over. Underneath the scab is this pus. Stuff.
Pus.
Yeah, you're releasing the stuff that's within there, that's been in there for years. So the emotions will come up. Often it's something I'll say to someone. How can I put it? There's an inner knowing that I will sense and feel what's happening in someone's body without them even having to say it. If I'm working with them one-on-one, my hand will go there, or there will be just this knowing what's going on in their body without them saying. When any individual feels seen, feels heard, feels witnessed, without feeling that there's nothing wrong, they haven't done anything wrong, they're seen in a level of acceptance as they are in that moment, something really beautiful and magical happens. Then what's beneath the surface that they're suppressing or pushing down so much comes up. It will naturally come up. It has to.
So
And that may not come up straight away, but over time, you meet a resistance, a wall of resistance, and you stay there a little bit without running away, and then the wall, a brick will come out of the wall, and then the person will have this emotional release, and then there'll be a little bit more freedom in their body.
There might be somebody that will watch this on replay maybe tomorrow or the day after, and they're probably thinking, it's great. Now, you're down in New South Wales, correct? So there might be somebody in South Australia, Western Australia, Queensland, and they're saying, can we do this in a group session? Like, can you do, a lunch break session, or would you need a full day? Tell me how a program would work if an organisation looks at this and says, I've got 23 managers who are highly stressed and we need to give them some sort of work where they're got to be a little bit more aware. Zoe, we want you to come up and do it. What would that day look like? So somebody might have a good understanding of what they might be getting.
So if it's a team, if it's within a business, then I'm open to actually coming down personally. And actually working with the team one-on-one. It could be a 4-hour workshop, could be a day workshop, and really go through the process. They have the restore reset, and very much about this also comes from what I want to actually get into corporate to where it becomes a train the trainer, where then it's part of the health and wellness. So it's a framework of getting this into businesses, and there's a different program for that. But it's based on that.
Oh, Zoe, we've been talking for 51 minutes, and I've hardly even gone through a lot of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. Okay. And there's we could talk for 4 hours on this quite easily. The other thing I want to ask you, because just before we came on, we did a bit of a sound check and we were talking a little bit about body positivity. And I'd like to explore that, not now, but you did go through some body positivity issues or the body image issues when you were younger. Are you prepared to come back and have me do a bit of a deep dive into what's going on, Zoe? What happened there? What were you doing that? What was the purpose of that? Do you want to come back and say, if we book this in a month's time, that we might want to talk about that?
Yes, I would love to.
I feel
it's a topic that definitely needs to be heard by for both men and women. Very much with women, and exactly on the topics that we spoke on. Yeah.
Well, Zoe Anna, what do people call you? Zoe or Zoe Anna?
Zoe Anna.
Zoe Anna.
I went to Zoe Anna because Zoe Bell, there's an amazing stunt woman, the Kill Bill stunt woman.
Oh, yes. Zoe Anna. Zoe Bell.
Yeah, so whenever I put in my search, that would come up. So I was like, okay, I need to get around this. So then I used my third name, Anna, and then put it with Zoe.
That's incredible, because I get the same thing. When I type in Gerald Porshman, there are so many people with the same name as Gerald. No, there's not. I'm the only one. I'm unique. I'm a non-entity. There's no one else, but I'm the only one out there. That's it. Zoe, it's been so good to have this chat with you. Stick around afterwards. I want to have a chat to you about some other things, so stick around, but we're going to finish up. I want to thank you for coming on here and sharing your insights in here, especially how you got started. I think that really gives a lot of people a bit of information about it. Doesn't have to be something in 10, 15 years' time. You can start this quite simply today. And like I put up before, for those people who are interested, they can do the Restore Reset 21-day course. If they jump onto your website, they can click through, they can sign up, and then they can just do the course themselves. And I think that would be...
The course kicks off on the 25th of this month.
Perfect.
Yeah, they can get in and sign up, and also download the 5 top culprits of stiffness and inflexibility, and it will be insights that others won't be aware of. So.
Yeah. So I just got one comment here from an Adrian King, and he writes, this woman is 100% on the money. So that's on the money. So what do you say there? You go namaste, or you just say thank you? Or you say
thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Adrian. Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah, thank you. Now, if anyone else wants to join me, you can just simply look at me there with the beard there. Look at that. I'm so glad I took that off. But if anyone wants to talk about whatever, and I'll talk with whomever, you just simply need to contact me. The details, as you can see, is under Zoe's name. Just contact me through LinkedIn. And you could be in the hot little seat just like as Zoe was today. And Zoe, we're going to be back in maybe a month's time talking about body image and body positivity. Mm-hmm. You're up for it?
Perfect. I'm up for it.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again. Have a great day, evening, night, and namaste.
Thank you.